Why is kicking to a handstand so difficult? One common mistake people make is trying to kick directly into the final straight position, the way that gymnasts do it. That method is very difficult, and learning to do it consistently would take a very long time. But there's a much simpler technique that makes the whole process of kicking up to a handstand much easier and more accessible. That's the topic of this video. Welcome to Calisthenics Through the Ages. This is a channel about bodyweight strength training and health and fitness for older people. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Rob Peterson. Balancing a handstand and getting to a handstand are two separate skills. When you're in the balanced position, you're nearly static, and ideally, you keep the balance by making very small adjustments. When you're kicking to the handstand, you have to find the balanced position in the first place, and since your body is moving, often slower or faster than you'd like it to, you usually need to make some large adjustments to get yourself to stop at the right place. And if you're learning a handstand, I think it's important to work the two skills separately at least some of the time. You can work the balance separately from kicking up by starting in a position very close to the balance point. That way you can start with little or no momentum, and you can just focus on the fine adjustments that are necessary to balance the handstand. I should mention this video is aimed at people who already have a decent start on a handstand. You should be comfortable kicking up against a wall, and you should at least be able to make attempts away from a wall, meaning that you should be comfortable bailing when you overshoot. If you're not at that level yet, you should start with a more basic tutorial. Okay, on to the kick up. It's very hard to kick up and just stop dead in a perfect balanced position without any adjustments. You'd have to be able to kick up with the precise amount of force that would bring you to a halt at the exact right place. I imagine it would take a very long time to learn how to do that consistently. I can't do it, and I've been able to kick to a handstand for over 30 years. Instead, the best strategy is to try to kick to somewhere near the balance point and then compensate. You can practice the kick up by itself by practicing against a wall where you don't have to worry about falling over. Try to get it to a point where you get to the wall every time, and you usually hit the wall with not too much force. You can also practice kicking up and bailing out in the open. You can do this with the intention of bailing out every time so you don't have to stress about balancing. It's a good idea to practice bailing a lot anyway, because you want to be very comfortable with it. Anyway, assuming you're reasonably good at kicking to somewhere near the balance point, then comes the hard part, trying to correct for the slightly imperfect kick up, catch the balance, and stick the handstand. What most people tend to do when they're learning it is that they try to go directly to the final position, meaning that they bring their legs together on the way up so that their legs are already together as they get to the fully inverted position. This is difficult for the following reason. Since most of the time your kick up won't be perfect, you're going to have to make large corrections when you get near the balanced position. This is very hard to do when your legs are together because your options for controlling your momentum and adjusting your position are limited. I can do it this way some of the time. If I concentrate hard, my success rate is probably 70% if I kick up with my right leg, and maybe 50% if I kick up with my left leg. This video illustrates the difficulty. You can see that I kick up too hard, then I struggle to catch the overbalance by arching and pushing like crazy with my fingers. Then I overshoot it the other way, and I have to bend my arms quite a bit to avoid falling to the underbalanced side before I finally stabilize it. Those large corrections I had to make are very difficult. As a beginner, you probably won't be able to do that. And so, if you try doing it that way, most of the time your kick-ups will fail immediately. You won't even get a chance to work the balance. But there's a much easier way to approach the kick-up. The basic idea is that when you're kicking up, you leave your legs separated until you balance yourself, and then bring your legs together and approach the final straight position slowly and carefully. You might think that this works because it lowers your center of mass or something, but that's not why it works. It works because being able to move your legs around independently gives you an easy way to move your center of mass around. This is very helpful when you have momentum and you're trying to get yourself to stop at the right place. In this example, I kick up a little too hard, which would lead to overbalancing, but I prevent the overbalance from ever happening by letting the lower leg lag behind on the way up. I don't raise the lower leg until after I'm comfortably balanced, and when I do bring my legs together, I do it very slowly. Here's the way I think about it. On the way up, I feel that I'm moving too fast and I'm going to overshoot. If I brought my legs together quickly, my center of mass would move too far to the right and I would overbalance. If the overbalance was too much, then I'd have to bail. So instead, on the way up, I let the lower leg lag, which keeps some of my mass to the left of the center line and prevents me from overbalancing. Of course, you don't need to think about exactly how you're using your legs to adjust your center of mass and all that. As you practice, you'll learn how to make those kinds of adjustments by feel. Basically, keeping your legs separated on the way up gives you easy levers of control that allow you to make large corrections to the balance. Here's another way that keeping your legs separated helps you stick the handstand. In these examples, I kick a little harder so that I would overshoot even more. To help prevent overbalancing, as the upper leg moves past vertical, I bend it down. Notice that even here, I'm not forced to make large, noticeable corrections with my upper body, like arching or bending my arms. It's still quite a comfortable transition into the balance. I think that this works for the following reason. The problem is that I have too much momentum as my body approaches the balance position. Too much to compensate for using the first method. As my leading leg passes vertical, it's still moving pretty fast. But rather than just letting it pull me over, I bend it, which redirects some of that rightward momentum downward. And that prevents my center of mass from moving too far to the right. Now I've exaggerated the motions to illustrate the point. Naturally, you're aiming to control it with smaller motions. And again, you don't need to remember all those details I just talked about. Those were just explanations of how the technique can work. Just remember to keep your legs separated until you get balanced. That's all you really need to know. The techniques themselves will come as you practice it. I probably don't need to mention this because I'm sure most people won't do this, but just for completion, the very hardest way to kick up to a handstand is to start from standing up. This is the way you should do it if you find yourself in a gymnastics competition, but other than that, you should probably avoid it. Everything is faster and it's really hard to control, especially if you also bring your legs together on the way up. I usually can't stick it this way. It's much better to place your hands on the ground carefully, then kick up from there. The method that I think is easiest, and that I think you should shoot for as you get better at it, is this. First, position your hands carefully on the ground. Then, given that it's nearly impossible to kick up perfectly, so you know that most of the time you're either going to slightly overshoot or slightly undershoot, you should aim to slightly overshoot it. Leave your legs spread apart and compensate using your legs to help you adjust your balance. Also, don't forget your fingers and your forearms. Pushing with your fingers is a big part of how you resist overbalancing, as I discussed in a couple of previous videos. That's why I recommend going for the overshoot rather than the undershoot. Being able to push with your fingers gives you a powerful lever of control on the overbalance that you don't have on the underbalance, so you're more likely to succeed if you slightly overshoot than if you slightly undershoot. I don't remember anyone teaching me this technique. I think I stumbled into it as I practiced handstands over the years. I didn't even realize that I did it this way until I started making videos and started thinking carefully about how I did things and how I could explain things to other people. No doubt you would also eventually find your way to techniques like this if you spent long enough practicing. But hopefully this video will help you get there faster. I think it also helps to get multiple perspectives, so I put links in the description to some other good tutorials on how to kick up to a handstand. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if this advice helps you, or if you have any suggestions, or questions, or comments. As always, click the like button if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, and subscribe for more content like this. Good luck with your training, and I'll see you in the next video.